just 7 kilometers from the sun-drenched shores of Santorini, one of the most beloved travel destinations on Earth. A silent and terrifying giant is finally beginning to wake up. Hidden 500 meters beneath the sparkling surface of the Mediterranean Sea, the Colombo submarine volcano has been secretly building a massive magma chamber that world-class scientists only confirmed recently. While it has not erupted for nearly 400 years, brand new data shows it is now recharging its deadly energy at a dangerously accelerating rate that concerns every single researcher. However, what happened in January of 2025 changed everything we thought we understood about volcanic risk in Greece, shifting our focus from calm seas to a looming fiery catastrophe. An intense sequence of thousands of earthquakes suddenly began to rattle the region, forcing the Greek government to declare a state of emergency while thousands of terrified residents fled the island. This was not just a handful of minor tremors, but a concentration of seismic activity never before documented in this specific region with such terrifying intensity and frequency in history. We are now witnessing the awakening of a volcanic system so complex and powerful that it threatens to reshape the entire geological future of the beautiful and historic Mediterranean basin. Join us as we dive into the deep, dark secrets of Colombo, where invisible forces are currently preparing for an eruption that could mirror the most catastrophic events in human history. To truly understand the gravity of the current situation, we must travel back nearly 400 years to the autumn of 1650, when the sea suddenly changed. Local residents on Santorini began to notice the water boiling and turning a strange white color as the massive submarine beast below finally decided to reveal its terrifying true nature. This catastrophic event was not a typical volcanic eruption, but a violent explosion that sent lethal pyroclastic flows racing across the ocean's surface directly toward the vulnerable Greek shores. Dark clouds of toxic gases quickly spread across the beautiful landscape of the island, and tragically, 70 people, along with countless animals, lost their lives in a matter of days. During that era, with a much smaller population and zero modern emergency infrastructure, such an event was perceived as a devastating divine punishment that scarred the local memory for centuries. However, this was not the first time this geologically active region had experienced such destruction, as the ancient eruption of Thera had occurred 1600 years before the Common Era. That prehistoric disaster was so powerful that it effectively wiped out the advanced Minoan civilization, proving that these volcanoes have the potential to collapse entire human societies in an instant. Since the year 1650, Colombo has remained completely silent, but in the world of volcanology, long periods of silence often mask a dangerous accumulation of internal pressure. This particular volcanic field contains at least 25 different submarine cones, all aligned along a complex tectonic boundary where the African plate slowly dives beneath the massive Eurasian plate. For nearly 4 centuries, this system has been quietly building volume out of our sight, creating exactly the right conditions for a large-scale magma accumulation over a very extended period. Most people see the quiet sea and think of safety, but scientists know that beneath that calm blue surface, a monster has been recharging its strength for nearly 400 years. The history of this region serves as a stark warning that what has happened before will almost certainly happen again, and the next event might be even more explosive than before. Scientists spent years trying to answer one central question: just how much molten rock has accumulated beneath the silent giant of Colombo since the last eruption? A groundbreaking study published in October of 2022 finally brought a revelation that fundamentally changed the risk assessment for this entire Mediterranean region forever. Using a cutting-edge imaging technique called full waveform inversion, geophysicists managed to see what no traditional method had ever been able to detect before. This technology functions similarly to a medical ultrasound, but is applied on a massive geological scale to peer deep into the fiery heart of our planet. The research team fired sound waves from a vessel at the ocean surface, which traveled down through the water and deep into the solid ocean floor. When these waves pass through solid rock, they move quickly, but when they encounter partially molten material, their speed drops dramatically across thousands of data points. By measuring these subtle differences, scientists constructed a detailed three-dimensional image, essentially creating a high-resolution X-ray of the Earth's mysterious and dangerous interior. What the image revealed was a massive magma chamber extending from 2 to 4 kilometers below sea level with a width of roughly 600 meters. The total volume of accumulated magma measures 1.4 cubic kilometers, which is a number that sounds abstract until you consider its true scale. This volume would be enough to fill more than 500,000 Olympic-sized swimming pools with molten rock at temperatures exceeding 1,000 degrees Celsius. Even more alarming is the rate of expansion, with the system growing by 4 million cubic meters every single year without stopping for nearly 4 centuries. If this growth rate continues, Colombo could reach the same critical threshold that triggered the devastating explosion of 1650 within 150 years. The authors noted that this system suggests the potential for a highly explosive eruption comparable in style to the massive Hunga Tonga eruption of 2022. Consider that this ticking time bomb sits just 7 kilometers from an island with 20,000 residents and millions of tourists arriving every single year. We are looking at a geological system that is recharging itself toward a level of energy that our modern world is simply not prepared to handle. Then, in January of 2025, everything that researchers had been warning about was suddenly brought into sharp and urgent focus for the entire world to witness with pure terror. On the 27th of January, an unexpectedly intense sequence of earthquakes began to be recorded approximately 10 kilometers northeast of Santorini, directly in the dangerous zone of the Colombo volcano. These were not just a handful of minor tremors, but more than 30,000 earthquakes registered between the islands of Santorini and Amorgos over the course of only 30 days. The University of Athens reported over 15,000 seismic events in just 15 days, which is a concentration of activity never before documented in that region with such terrifying intensity. The largest individual event reached a staggering magnitude of 5.2 on the moment magnitude scale, causing historical buildings to rattle and panic to spread across the island. The Greek government declared a formal state of emergency on Santorini between the 6th of February and the 3rd of March of 2025 to protect the local population. Schools were immediately closed, and residents were advised to drain their swimming pools because the movement of large water masses could destabilize building foundations during the ongoing ground shaking. Approximately 11,000 people voluntarily evacuated the island during the peak of the crisis as international volcanological teams were deployed to assess the immediate risk in real time. These experts monitored data streams around the clock, searching for any sign that the magma was finally breaking through the crust to reach the surface of the Mediterranean Sea. The atmosphere on the island was thick with tension as everyone waited for the silent giant beneath the waves to either calm down or release its massive stored energy. Every single tremor served as a terrifying reminder that the Earth was moving and that the invisible connection between these volcanic systems was far more active than anyone expected. This was not just a local crisis, but a global scientific emergency that forced us to rethink our entire understanding of how submarine volcanoes interact with populated coastlines. As the ground continued to shake day after day, the fear grew that this was only the beginning of a much larger and more catastrophic event for all of Europe. The world watched in silence as the data revealed a level of geological unrest that surpassed every historical record available to modern science in the beautiful Aegean Sea. Even as the earthquakes eventually slowed down, the questions remained about what exactly had shifted deep beneath the ocean floor and what it meant for the future of Santorini. Night after night, residents could hear the low rumbles of the earth beneath them, as if the volcano itself was breathing through the cracks in the ancient volcanic rock. Scientists from across the globe gathered in local control rooms, staring at digital screens that flickered with every new pulse of energy rising from the deep magmatic reservoir. The economic impact was immediate, as the tourism industry came to a complete standstill, and the world realized that even the most beautiful places are subject to nature's fury. This 30-day period of seismic hell would eventually lead to a discovery so profound that it would rewrite the textbooks on how we monitor underwater volcanic hazards in the future. In November of 2025, a study published in the prestigious journal Nature delivered a shocking explanation that was far more significant than even the terrifying crisis itself had suggested. Santorini and Colombo were long considered separate geological systems, but researchers proved they are actually connected by a massive, shared, deep magmatic reservoir hidden many kilometers below the Earth's crust. The detailed data showed that a gradual inflation of the Santorini caldera, which began in mid-2024, actually preceded a large intrusion of magma sourced from beneath the Colombo volcano. Think about the terrifying implications of this discovery, because two of the most hazardous volcanic structures in all of Europe are actually fed by the exact same deep magmatic source. Using advanced artificial intelligence tools, the research team analyzed more than 25,000 individual earthquakes to conclude that massive sheets of magma had cut through the ancient crustal rock. These magma sheets covered an area of approximately 20 kilometers in extent, at depths greater than 10 kilometers, reaching far beyond what scientists previously believed was possible for this region. The sheer volume of magma involved in this single intrusion would be enough to fill 200,000 Olympic-sized swimming pools with liquid fire pushing against the cold Mediterranean floor. While this magma did not reach the surface during the event, the demonstrated interaction between these two volcanic systems significantly elevates the risk profile for future activity across the entire area. One incredible detail almost passed unnoticed by the public as the seafloor above Colombo subsided by as much as 32 centimeters, while the beautiful surface of Santorini rose significantly higher. Santorini specifically rose by more than 10 centimeters as magma was redistributing between the two systems in real time, like a massive underground river flowing silently through the dark rock layers. We are witnessing two giant volcanoes breathing in synchrony and exchanging intense pressure across an invisible underground connection that had existed for centuries without anyone knowing it was actually there. This hidden bridge between two giants means that any future unrest at one site could potentially trigger a catastrophic reaction at the other, creating a domino effect of volcanic destruction. The geological maps of the Mediterranean must now be redrawn to reflect this terrifying reality, as we realize how little we truly understood about the deep plumbing of our own planet. It is a chilling discovery that reminds us that the Earth is a living and interconnected organism where distant structures can share the same fiery blood in a complex dance. This newly discovered magmatic highway proves that the risk to Santorini is not just from its own caldera, but also from the silent giant lurking just a few kilometers away. As we move forward, our monitoring strategies must evolve to account for this unified system, ensuring that we are never again surprised by the secret movements of these massive underground reservoirs. The discovery has sent shockwaves through the scientific community as they scramble to install new sensors and refine their models to predict the next breath of these two synchronized giants.